Watson. He carried out Charles Manson's vision of destruction. Now, 21 years later, Tex wants parole. And guess who's in his corner?
Charles has changed.
The daughter of two of his victims, fighting for his freedom. But don't tell Sharon Tate's mom.
You can't let serial killers out.
But she'll try. The Tex Maniac. What's up, Dot? This is an unholy alliance between survivor and crazed killer.
It would be wonderful if you could meet people like my parents.
Meet Susan Laberge. Her parents were killed by Charles Manson's hitman. Now she wants to set him free.
They should be made aware that he is not rotting away in a prison cell, that he is using productively the time given to him.
Strange but true. That's next. And later, Dot's all, folks.
Putting it on permanently, it leaves you trouble-free.
The mole makes its mark.
On the cover of a magazine.
Years ago tonight, Charles Manson's gang put their evil stamp on history. The list of victims included Sharon Tate and Rosemary and Leno LaBianca. Now, one woman is trying to free one of the most brutal of the Manson killers. And as our Mike Watkins reports, what makes this almost unbelievable is that she is the LaBianca's daughter.
His name is Charles Tex Watson, and 21 years ago, he was the muscle behind a madman named Charlie Manson. Manson gave the orders, but it was Tex Watson who faithfully carried them out, spearheading the most infamous crime spree of the 20th century, the brutal midnight massacre at the Hollywood mansion of actress Sharon Tate, and the following night's slaughter of a middle-aged couple named Rosemary and Leno LaBianca.
And Watson went there. He was the main killer, participated in all of the murders, announced to the victims, I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's business. Showed no mercy whatsoever. When these people were crying out for mercy, Watson, instead of showing them mercy, he continued to stab. Here's a person who told his psychiatrist when he was talking about the Tate victims, he said, they were running around like chickens with their heads cut off. And when he told his psychiatrist this, he had a smile on his face. So this gives you kind of an insight to what type of person he is.
Yet 21 years after the fact, Charlie Manson's hitman has had a change of heart. Tex Watson says he's a born-again Christian. While in prison, he's taken a wife. And through conjugal visits, he's even fathered 3 small children. And now Tex Watson says he wants to be out to be with his family. So recently, he appealed to the California Board of Pardons to set him free. And what makes this story even more bizarre is that the woman heading up Watson's parole effort is none other than the daughter of one of his victims, Susan Laberge, the daughter of Rosemary LaBianca, the woman who on August 9, 1969, was viciously stabbed 42 times by Charles Tex Watson.
I am the daughter of Rosemary and Leno LaBianca, and I've written something ahead of time because I wasn't really sure how this would go and what I would remember to say.
And in this never-before-seen video, Susan Laberge talks to the California Parole Board, pleading for the release of her parents' killer.
I've had much time to think about the crimes Charles committed. They affected me as much as anyone else who loved any of the victims. It has taken time, information, knowledge, and God's love for me to come to the opinion and conclusion that I have reached. I don't think any kind of fear is justifiable for keeping Charles in prison. For Charles, I believe 21 years of imprisonment and his having to live with the memory of what he did is punishment enough. It is my belief that Charles could live in society peacefully and should be given a parole date.
But don't tell that to the mother of actress Sharon Tate. To her, any move to spring a mass killer like Tex Watson is just one more chapter in the world's longest nightmare.
You know the argument. She says that Tex Watson is a changed man. He's found Christ. He's a good Christian, and he's been in jail for 20 years. He's paid for his crime.
To think that she can sit there knowing that this man stabbed her mother 42 times in the back, that she wants him out, that is beyond human forgiveness.
Doris, if Susan Laberge was in this room right now, what would you say to her?
You dumb shit. That's what I'd probably say to her. Every mother that is listening to the sound of my voice, it would be their fear that their kid would go into a parole hearing and beg for their killer's life. How would you like for your, to be in that position, whereas you are the one that's murdered and your kids are trying to get your murderer out?
And Doris Tate, who has become an internationally recognized champion of victims' rights, didn't confine her anger to our interview. She also had plenty of venom at the recent parole board hearing for her face-to-face with Susan Laberge that started in the boardroom and wound up in the parking lot.
Have to have deterrence in this country. And if you're going to open the doors for serial killers, okay, you're going to open the doors for Ramirez. You're going to open the doors for Randy Kraft. You're going to open the doors for all the biggies. And that's what I'm going to do. Okay?
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
It would be wonderful if you could meet people like my parents.
Susan Laberge refused to talk on camera with a current affair. Instead, she said she is producing her own Christian faith video on the subject of Tex Watson. Doris Tate, on the other hand, was anxious to respond to our questions.
You can't let serial killers out. You cannot. Because you do not know their actions once they are free people.
And you don't buy that he's repented?
I don't care if he's repented. He hasn't suffered enough. It's like I told him. I said, you get your parole when I get mine, okay? Or when your victims get their parole. That's when you should get your parole.
And the man who prosecuted Manson's family, including Tex Watson, agrees. Vincent Bugliosi says letting Watson out of jail would be the most grievous miscarriage of justice.
He's an actor. I don't know if he has any remorse or not. I really don't think that's the issue, though. Even assuming, for the sake of argument, that he is remorseful. This Susan apparently wants him to be set free. Now, there is a thing called justice. And the very thought of someone like Watson, who brutally snuffed out the precious lives of 7 human beings, only serving 20 years for 7 murders, in other words, 2.5 years for each murder, I think is repugnant to the sensibilities of any rational person. To even consider Watson for parole at this time or at any time is almost criminal.
But criminal or not, Tex Watson and his ally Susan Laberge plan to continue to push for Watson's release. Time heals all, they seem to believe, including the savage soul of a convicted mass killer and the wounds of a nation that more than 20 years ago was taught the meaning of fear by the vicious acts of a so-called family.
Charles has changed, and that he is not the same individual he was 21 years ago. In the past 21 years, Charles's case has continually been placed before the eyes and ears of the public in a very negative way. I feel this has been unfair. I believe if this case is going to continue being viewed by the public, they deserve to know another side of Charles's life. They should be made aware that he is nothing like the news media has excuse me. They should be made aware that he is not rotting away in a prison cell, that he is using productively the time given to him because his death sentence was commuted, and that he is pressing forward to become all that God created him to be.
He should have thought about that 20.5 years ago. Then he would be a good man. He has committed the most heinous crime of all. and that's murder, taking the life of 9 people, and regardless of what Susan Laberge says, I will continue